living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here's your host, Michael Storm.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. It's true, it is Toward Anarchy. I am your host, Michael Storm. That must mean it is Sunday, and we are live right here on the Republic Broadcasting Network, as we always are, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, doing this thing where we talk and we have some fun. We find out a little bit about a world we don't know about, maybe. Hopefully that's some of what you get out when you tune in. It's another amazing week in the world. Plenty of things to talk about, which means that we will talk about, percentage-wise, none of them. There's just so much. I don't know how anybody ever manages to keep up with it. I found out today that it's week 14 of the NFL. Had no clue. Haven't watched a game all season. And I like football. It's just 2020, right? It's December 13th, so 2020 is about to be behind us. We could say goodbye to it, but I don't know that 2021 bodes any better for us at this point. It's still looking like a continuation of 2020, but we'll see. We try to make it as good as we can. You do the best you can for you and the people around you, and take care of the ones that you love. Do what's right by you. Don't harm other people. Don't damage their property. Remember all these things that you were told when you were a kid. To leave people alone. Don't mess with their stuff. That's what we're kind of reverting back to here in our little world. I don't know what to tell you about it. I'm right here, filters there, everything's in place, so I don't know what the problem is. I'm not talking over it. Nothing like that. Is it just too loud, maybe? I don't know. Haven't messed with the volume either, so I don't know. At any rate, it's functioning, I suppose. Hopefully it's not popping you too much. Or slurring you too much. That's what happens if you don't have all the right tools in place, or if I don't know. Could just be me. Could just be a little too dry here. It is definitely cold and dry. The sun is out, but it's definitely winter, and that always dries up the lips and the mouth and the throat, and you get that sort of at the corner of the mouth, and I don't know. It could just be that. Who knows? Go to towardanarchy.com. This is something I know because I've been working on it for a while, couple of years now, ultimately in the works to make it exactly what it is today. It's just one of those. I don't know. It's one of those things that I can do. It's one of the few things that I can do well. I can build a website. I can do this thing where I talk a little bit. I had a conversation earlier this week. I guess it was Friday when we finally did this debate about whether capitalism is compatible with agorism. And I will have to get the link today. They're just now posting the archive, I guess, today. So I'll get that link and I'll share it with you next week when I have it. Anybody wants to tune into that and check it out. It was a fine debate. I think I probably did really well. I think I spoke well for capitalism. I think I usually do when I'm on. And I was on, and I was right, and I made some great little mic drop kind of moments that are nice. You feel those things when you're talking and you hit on just a sentence or a phrase or something that really makes a statement, and that mic drop moment, you really feel it. But you don't actually have to slam the microphone down. In fact, you just stop talking and let it sink in, and it works really well. Go to towardanarchy.com. You'll see, if you're looking there at the front page live with us, it's December 13th, and my guest today will be Jackie Kerouac. She's an anarchist, an author, activist, all those great A words that go along with agorism. The agorist must have been very happy because I was never picking on them anyway. I was just pointing out some inconsistencies with some of the wording and some of the followers and some of the things that they would say. So we did that. We did it really well. Jackie's new project is Road to Autonomy Magazine, and we'll talk to her about that. We'll talk to her about the other things that she's done. She's hosted her own podcasts, and she's all over the place, been doing this for a while. And we'll be doing some more of these female voices. This is something that people are asking about all the time. It's not just me. I don't have to look at the world and go, where are all the female voices? There are plenty of them out there, but people do. They look for them, and they may not have found them yet. So I'm bringing some of these reasoned voices for anarchy, voluntarism, little L libertarianism, agorism, all of these ideas that at the core of them is this simple notion that we are in this together. It's the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. Some of us are in canoes, and some of us are in yachts, and some of us are on battleships. We're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat, and so we all have a different view of what's important or what works for us. And it's tough. I mean, speaking of the NFL, Week 14 in the NFL, one of the things that I noticed all over was the female voice is something that always lacked in the NFL. They were sideline people at best, but now they actually host some of the pregame shows and things like this. So it's not just that the voices aren't being heard. There hasn't been a place for them always. There hasn't always been a place where somebody say, come, tell us, please, let us know what it is we don't know. Give us your perspective on things. And so it's great to be able to do it. So we'll have Sherry Voluntary. She's just a chick who loves freedom. She'll be here next week. Felony Melanie, another activist and anarchist who's been repeatedly a victim of the social media manipulations. I was hit this week, in fact, for a 3-day ban for using the term gobbledygook, because the word gobbledygook, the phrase, the nonsense phrase, I guess it's just a word. I'd never written it out before, but I typed it out in social media, and I was flagged for it. I ended up catching a 3-day ban for saying the word gobbledygook, and it's because it has G-O-O-K in it. But a hyphen there, G-O-O-K, that's offensive to Vietnamese people. And the artificial intelligence, the artificial not-so-intelligence of Facebook flagged that. There's no process for arguing that these machines, this AI, it doesn't understand context, it doesn't understand humor, it doesn't understand a nonsense word like gobbledygook, even though you can go look it up. It's actually a real word. There shouldn't have been any reason why I was flagged and burned for 3 days. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't post on the site, couldn't talk, couldn't like things, couldn't even unfriend people. If I saw something that I didn't like, I couldn't just say I don't want to be that person's friend anymore. I actually, to get a person off of my page during my lockdown, my punishment, I had to actually block a person to be able to do anything. I could accept friends. How come I can't get rid of friends? The whole thing was obnoxious and annoying, and people, it's happened much worse. It's happened to people in much worse ways than it's happened to me. I'm actually pretty good about it. Now, I have to try to be even better about it. And you might think, oh, well, you're just trying to avoid using certain words and language. Well, yeah, I do it here too, to make sure that my message reaches a maximum number of people. So there's no reason. I don't have a problem with voluntarily, as it were, I guess, curtailing my own speech. I don't like the fact that an AI system managed and developed by a bunch of humorless jerks, with Arrested Development, Gen Xers. Hey, I'm a Gen Xer myself, so. But oh boy, it was so frustrating to try to there's no recourse. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't tell anybody. You can't even pick up a phone and call Facebook. And I get tired. Do you like Facebook? Do you like the things that we offer? Is it a great system? Are you reaching the people you want? They're always trying to ask a survey. Right now, it's always the COVID survey. But the answer is no. No, I don't like being a product instead of a customer, and being a product that doesn't even. I'm like an employee of Facebook when it comes to. I'm the one that generates all the money for it. They sell advertisement. I'm the person who sees the advertisements. I'm the person who sees the boosted posts. I'm the product in this case, and they take and they steal all your information. Well, they don't steal it. I mean, they tell you up front that they're taking it, but it's just I don't know what they're going to do about it. I guess the government's going to break them up. That's a big thing that's going on right now, is they're being sued by a bunch of states and the federal government. I haven't been following the story too closely, but it's akin to the breakup of AT&T or the breakup of Microsoft in certain respects. I mean, maybe the Microsoft thing is a little bit closer, a little bit better of an explanation, just because it's similarly related in that sense that they're saying that they have so much market reach and that they've violated so many people and so many trusts, including government contracts or trusts and things like that. It's a long conversation, and one that's not going to end anytime soon, because Facebook is caught in a really weird place, and they put themselves there, and they haven't done the right things to defend themselves over the years to protect their free speech, let alone ours. And you'll notice that when I talk about something like a Facebook or the social media, I don't generally refer to it as a free speech issue, because it's not. It's not about free speech. It has nothing to do with me speaking out about anything, government in particular, necessarily, because that's not the things that I get banned for. I get banned for quoting lyrics, certain words in lyrics that you can't use, apparently. Unless you're certain people, then you can use certain words. Other people can't use those words. I just the whole thing just makes my head spin, because who knows where it's going to go at this point? There's no telling. All you know is that what happens is the same thing. What's going to happen ultimately will be the same thing that always happens when you get government involved in something like this. They decide who the winners and losers are instead of the marketplace. So instead of the people deciding that Facebook needs to die because it is just a terrible platform and the new changes have just made it even worse, and that there's so much good that you can use it for, but there's so much negativity underlying all of it, and just this fact that you do have to think before you go and say something about whether or not your speech is going to be curtailed. And then, so I don't say free speech, because it's not. It's just not the same thing. We'll see where it all goes. We'll see what happens. Mark Zuckerberg, these people that work for Facebook, none of them are on our side, because they're all politically motivated. There's money, there's power to be had, and you and I don't offer much of that to them. We're pennies. They can afford to lose you and I when they have millions of other people there to make up for it. They don't care about the individual, and they have no reason to. And they're not like Parler or some of these other places that are trying to make a stand on the idea of free speech, which is silly anyway. This is the problem with the running. This is one of the things that I talked about with the Agorist this weekend, this last Friday here in this debate. And it's this idea that we have to sacrifice everything that is ours to the system. We don't have to sacrifice anarchy to chaos. That's not what it means. That's not what it is. We don't have to sacrifice capitalism to the statists, to the state, to control by manipulators and the bankers. We don't have to do that. We don't have to run to Parler to get away from being manipulated. Find ways around it. Find ways to beat the system. Find language, words, ways to communicate that the system can't stop you from doing it. The Boogie Boys did it. You know what I'm talking about? The Boog Boys, the Boogaloo. They've done it. Their speech was curtailed. Their groups were disbanded across the social media. And what did they do? They found visual cues. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Boogaloo Boys are these guys that think that they're going to call us all together magically one day when the boots start marching down the street. I've talked about it a little bit before. It's a weird position to be in. I get the sentiment, but the reality is something entirely different. But they were shut down. Their voices were silenced across the social media. And so what they did is they found new ways to communicate visually that the system can't do anything about, because what's it mean? Well, it doesn't mean anything. It's just an image. And what they've done is, you might notice it. If you're in the social media, you probably have noticed it. And I was surprised to actually see somebody actually ask what it was, because I knew what it was, and I didn't even go look to see if that's what it was. I just knew it. It's the pictures with the shining red eyes, got the glowing red eyes, like demon eyes. All those guys that you see, those guys would call themselves Boogaloo Boys or whatever. Whatever fractionalized group of people who seem to think they think the same have run off into. We don't have to sacrifice what's ours. The system, the government, the bankers, the New World Order, the Illuminati, the aliens, all of them, they came along and took these things from us and manipulated them. They didn't create any of these things. All of these things existed before them, and they will exist after them as we stand by here and build our parallel systems and watch them collapse. All of those things that we have, our capitalism, our choice in currencies, our voices, our social media platforms, all of these are ours. The language, it's ours. It doesn't belong to the state. And there's a purposeful effort by the socialists. I believe I shared a quote or a link. Let's see, December 13th. That's what you're looking for if you go to the archive. What was it? Oh, yeah. It was a article from Mises.org, and it's about newspeak. It's the destruction of language it's a deliberate act of socialism in an effort to dumb down and control the population. So it's absolutely true. You have to read that article. It's up there. Just look for December 13th at towardanarchy.com. We're getting ready to drop into a break here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the rest of what's coming up in the show today, and we'll talk about Jackie, and we'll bring Jackie Kerouac into the conversation here before too much longer, and we'll talk about Road to Autonomy Magazine. I shared the links up there as I always do. There's a follow the Road to Autonomy Magazine on Facebook, and then you can subscribe and support the magazine. It's about, you could even contribute to it possibly. I've been I as soon as I started talking to Jackie, I said, hey, maybe I could write a piece or two for the magazine. That'd be really fun to do. And so that's something that we'll be talking about. We'll ask about how people can best contribute and what the best things are to help the magazine continue on. It's a new venture for Jackie, and I'm looking forward to talking to her about it. We will come right back, and we'll get this thing underway right here on Toward Anarchy. To towardanarchy.com, and you look for December 13th. That's the easiest way to follow along. Just click on the archive button, and while you're there, click on the shop button and buy a shirt. I have the shirts right up at top, and I was doing the math. I figure if I sell about 100 of them, and we're on our way. Quite a few people have purchased shirts already. It's really great to see. Nobody's actually contacted me yet to show me that they got their shirt yet. It is a weird time for shipping this time of year. But as soon as people do start getting shirts, I hope they will start sending me pictures, some selfies or something, them wearing their shirts and out and about. That would be very, very cool. Purchase a shirt, help support the show. I figure if I sell 100 of them, the entirety, everything that I do with the website is definitely taken care of. And that includes, like the security certificate and all the little important stuff. I had the eBay store up there linked to be able to buy stuff from, but I pulled all my stuff from the eBay store because they changed their model of business. They cut out PayPal and they've taken over handling payments as sales, and it's slow, and they've been messing up, and they've made it so that you can't sell things. This is what happened. Is I was telling you last week that I would list these. They're over there. I can't reach them. I would list these. I have some copper bars and I have some silver coins and some things that I was going to list, and I can't because the new system is taken over. You can't post bullion, U.S. coins, anything like that, and you can't like DVDs and Blu-rays, music CDs, stuff. Right now, they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to make these changes and we'll fix things." Well, why'd you screw it up in the first place? It's amazing. eBay has done this over the years. I've been on eBay since 1995. I believe that would have been the first time I sold something on eBay. And over the years, they've gone back and forth from free listings to charged listings to stores to having PayPal process their payments, having themselves process their payments, just back and forth, charging you more, charging you less. But they've never settled on anything. They're always constantly screwing with stuff. And it's funny, too, because if you use the system at all, if you use eBay at all, especially if you use it from a computer, depending on what you are looking for and what you're trying to do, you can see pages from 20 years ago. you can click around the site and see pages from 20 years ago. It's hilarious. Just seeing that they're. I just don't get it. It frustrates me to know and to see multi-million, multi-billion-dollar companies and corporations do things in a half-assed way. Maybe it's me being the perfectionist. That's what producer Ken and I were just talking about that in the break. We're just talking about trying to be a perfectionist and try to make the best sound that you possibly can hear. We were talking about the popping and just having to adjust. Maybe I need to be back away from the microphone just a little bit more, and that helps. It just makes it that much more professional. It makes it that much better of a sound, because we're talking about a sound medium here. Even if you talk about the video podcasts, things like that are really popular across the social media, even the professionals, they're telling you that the most important thing is the sound, and that if it's not coming across, if it's not clean, it's not clear, if there's noise in the background, there's all these interruptions, all these things that distract from just paying attention to what you're trying to hear going on from the recording. It just is unprofessional, and people tune out just that quick. And that's always been true. So, of course, it would be true in this or any other medium where the people are supposed to be listening. You're supposed to be getting a message. I found out this last week. I did not know this. I really didn't. That I'm part of this great tradition of orators, speakers, thinkers, people trying to make a reasoned case and an argument for the purpose of learning, for coming to understanding, to reach growth. The likes of Aristotle and Plato, and I really didn't have any idea. I've talked about these argumentation and the elements of argument and things like that because I know them, not because I practice them, not because I read some book or something. And I've had this book forever that's been sitting on the shelf, and I finally cracked it open, and I was looking through it, and wow, I'm not the first person to do this. Go figure. And I'm not the first person to ask for reasoned conversation and reasoned debate. We had this amazing debate on Friday about capitalism and agorism, and I can't wait to get the archive of it to be able to share it with you, because I think that I made a great case for it, and I think that it speaks about this idea that you can actually have a conversation with people that have differing views, and that you can reach understanding, because a lot of understanding was reached in that conversation, and it was neat to find that. And so now I'm actually trying to look through this book. I'm not reading any of the actual essays or analysis or anything like that they do, because I don't care about other people's opinion on stuff. I'm looking at the data, talking about the Toolman argument and the claim, that's where it begins, and the support and the warrant. And it was just kind of neat to read about some things that I understood, intrinsically, but actually find them sort of written down, and people talking about what are the best ways to approach some of these things, and talking about the language and the methodology, and doing things for purpose, speaking for purpose, arguing to reach understanding. And it's really, really cool. And it's neat to consider that I'm actually a part of that great tradition. We're going to slip into a break here any second, and we'll bring Jackie into the program. Jackie Kerouac she's an activist and an anarchist, and she's an author. She wrote a book. We'll have to talk about her book. My Shadow. It's not coming. It's something about a shadow, something like that. We'll ask her about it when she joins the show here in just a little bit. But we'll talk about Road to Autonomy Magazine as well. That is going to be great, because you know how that is when your energy shifts and you have an idea, and it sparks and it hits, and it's what's needed, it's what's right at the time. And that's the way that I think she feels about that. And I did too when I first saw it. I've been watching. I didn't know that she was a part of Road to Autonomy Magazine, and I had seen it around, and I thought, oh wow, that'd be kind of neat to be able to write for that, to contribute to that, and just to have to have it all come full circle like that. This is really cool. And it's one of these things that it happens with intent. It happens over and over again in the purposeful, driven life, I guess, if you will. And I'm not talking about religion or anything like that necessarily. I'm just talking about when you have a goal, when something has been sparked in you, and you feel like you can really reach for something. It's right there in your grasp. That's the way this show has been for me. That's the way it's developed and grown. And I've if nothing else, in all that I've done here, I've proven that you can still today take and carve out your little piece. One little chunk, one little chip with the knife into the wood at a time. You can still carve out a little piece for yourself and for people to find you. When I caught my ban on the social media this week, I have my other access to it. I have other accounts and things that are tied together. And what I was able to do was say, you know what? No matter what they do, when they shut me down here, you'll always be able to find me at towardanarchy.com. Jackie Kerouac joins the conversation next. We'll be right back. Go to towardanarchy.com. You're looking for December 13th, and you will see that my guest today is Jackie Kerouac. She's an activist, an anarchist, an author. She's one of these people that's been out here not just preaching, but actually practicing, living these ideas: libertarianism, voluntaryism, agorism, anarchy, all of these wonderful isms, the good isms that we like. And it's such a pleasure to be able to bring voices like hers to the show and to you, because I know you don't get to hear all of these different ideas and these different thoughts that are coming from all of these wonderful people that are out there. I can't even keep up. I have to go out to my people, and I have to say, find me things, because I'm everywhere. I'm scattered. I'm just, this is amazing. That's great. That's wonderful. Love this. It's tough to make some decisions sometimes, so it's really great. Jackie, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time to come hang out and talk to my listener here and just tell them what you are and what you do, because I think that you're one of these amazing people that has been doing this for a while, and you've made a name for yourself, and you've been able to do it as a female, and that's not easy to do, especially across the social media, because I listen to you guys talk and just the way you are treated on the backs, contacted by weirdos and freaks and things all the time. I wouldn't put up with that.
It's definitely it's something for sure. It's been a whole experience.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, the social media is still relatively new to everybody, but it's given people an unfiltered voice in some respects. In other ways, it's really clamped down and filtered voices a lot more. But in other ways, it's given people an unfiltered voice, and that's not necessarily always a good thing for people, especially if they don't know how to filter themselves.
Well, true. I mean, true. Honest to goodness, we see a lot of that where there seems to be no thought before speech or typing. But I don't fully blame all of the weirdos and creeps. I kind of blame the society for raising them, and our society is so damaged, and it puts so much value on things that are nothing, and vanity, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that need an outlet, and social media became their outlet, and for better or worse. I think it's just kind of an experience. So
it is. I think you have to take it for what it is, and that's I try to express this idea to people all the time. It just accept things for what they are instead of trying to overanalyze them or make them anything that they aren't. And learn, particularly when it comes to tools. And the social media is a tool, whether you're a business or an individual or whatever your goal is out there. To reach people, to say things, it's just a tool, and the better you know how to use it, the more efficiently you know how to use it, the better it's going to work for you. And other people will always use tools improperly. They will use them for evil. They will do bad things with them, if you will. And so, again, it is a symptom. The social media, the negativity across it is a symptom of our reality, and it hasn't gotten any better in 2020. No. One could argue that it's gotten a little bit worse, but I mean, so to answer your original question, my name is Jackie Kerouac, or Dharma Iyer. Jackie Kerouac is my handle name on Facebook ever since Facebook zucked my Dharma Iyer account. So my alt is – oh, sorry. No, I was just going to ask you about Dharma Iyer, because that is you wrote a book under that name. I did, yeah. That's the name under the book for sure, My Shadow. And just kind of a historical fiction about my upbringing. My childhood was kind of rough and tumble. The streets pretty much raised me, so I've been an anarchist lifelong. I started this journey. I think we're all born anarchists, but little by little, we're whittled away into the statists that so willingly wear the mask while driving. And I never allowed that whittling away, just because, I failed a lot by the state, failed a lot by figures of authority, and kind of found my own way. And just January of 2020, I decided, because of the social media being as toxic as it is, and being so unproductive and a bit of a time and energy suck, there needed to be some sort of rethought of community and rethought thinking on how to use digital life but productively.
And the magazine, RTA Magazine, or Road to Anarchy, or now rebranded to Road to Autonomy, kind of was that outlet to bring a lot of these people, as you said, that are everywhere. They're coming in contact with so many different ideas and people and experiences that it's hard to keep everything together. It's hard to remember who sources what, who to go to for what service, who to listen to, who to get, honest, unbiased reviews from. And it becomes such a cluster out there that the magazine was thought of as a way to be like a hub, a community resource for knowledge, for people, for ideas, for how to be better agorists, how to be better anarchists, how to better teamwork with statists. All things that are in our reality that we need to just decide is true and work with it instead of against it, which has been the anarchist way.
No, that's absolutely right. Because there's this idea, I think, that when someone says that they're an anarchist, that they think we want to go it alone, that we're just complete loners. And for some of us, It's absolutely true. There's no question about that. But the reality is the rest of us want to get along. We kind of like this society thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for so long, a friend of mine said, anarchists are prickly because they're used to getting done. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think so many of our ideas, so many of our hopes for the future are on. It can't be done, or it's just a utopian idea, or how many times have we heard stuff like that? And anarchists decide that society has rejected us. Why the f should we follow society? So we inadvertently solo ourselves because we feel that we can't commingle in this society. We don't belong. We're afraid to be ourselves because of ridicule or persecution or worse, And so we silently fight against this society alone. And I'm saying there's a better way. There's a better way to live in a society that has rejected us historically. There's a way, and I'm living proof, there's a way that we can get along to get along and still stand firm on the ideas that we have. And I'm a tax evader. That's one of the ways that I peacefully protest. I refuse to wear a mask, and that means I get kicked out of places. That's the reality of it. I get booted from a lot of places. I get service revoked. So the reality is not everything is going to be for us, but there's a way that we can still live in this society. We can still participate in this society while still standing firm to our beliefs, not bending that knee, and still making a positive impact. We're not spray painting A's on signs all the time. Sometimes we're feeding homeless. Sometimes we're, donating time to neighbors or whatever to foster a good, healthy community. And I think the historical and the hijacked word of anarchy has limited our growth.
I like the fact that you use the word hijacked in reference to anarchy, because I just mentioned it just before you joined the conversation here. I was just talking about the fact that we do not have to sacrifice ourselves. We do not have to sacrifice the things that belong to us as people, as individuals, and that includes our language. We don't have to sacrifice anarchy to chaos. We don't have to sacrifice capitalism to the bankers. We don't have to give up any of these things that are ours. And we need to stop running off into our own little groups and things like this. We need to be building the bigger communities and putting ourselves out there, because, of course, I would make the argument that anarchy is the natural state and that we live in anarchy every single day. All these things that we do when we interact with each other voluntarily, every second of every day, just uncountable. There's no way to count all the interactions that we make throughout the world, all the people that no consideration is given to government or what it thinks about what we're doing at the time.
Right. Right. And we can foster that further. We can take it further. And through the journey, through my book and through the magazine, I have met so many people that may or may not identify as anarchists. I have met so many people that are game changers. And it has given me so much hope for the future, because in these little pockets of communities that walk among us that you'd never suspect are highly principled anarchists. Whether they identify as anarchists or not is irrelevant. They're highly principled, they stand up for what they want, and they walk amongst us. They have good jobs. They drive nice cars. They're not your stereotypical anarchist. And those are the people that I'm looking to. The Rachel Nielsen's, the so many, the Jeremy Hengellers, the Shane Radliffs of the world, I find to be inspiring, and so many more that don't have a name that I look to and I think, yes, you've got it.
And those were some great names you dropped there. They've all been on the show. Those are great people. They fall into the category of yourself. Somebody who I'm an observer. I watch people, even if it's just through the social media. And so that's what I do. I don't participate as much as a lot of other people. Even when I get on a roll, I'm still not running my mouth as much as I am listening and watching. And yourself and Jeremy and God, there's so many, Sherry. I mean, there's all of these people that we know.
So many, yeah.
Yeah. And they're all doing these wonderful things. I mean, Shane is publishing people's books, and everybody's doing a podcast, and everybody's writing a book, and it's just amazing what's going on out there. And we're all doing it in spite of the system, in spite of being told that we can't, or that our ideas are utopian, or that it'll never work that way. We're still out there making the case for it and really living it and showing it every single day.
And I think that's what sets apart those names from others is they walk the walk. Anyone can talk. Anybody. There are so many anarchists that talk. They talk about their ideas, which is great. I think we need people talking about ideas, but we also need people that are doing those ideas and saying, whoa, my math was wrong. Step 2, I have to redo that, and they're making it more efficient. So that should something worse than, God forbid, whatever this frickin' reality COVID is, if anything worse happens, we've got people that are out there already. The Shane Radliffs just got done butchering a lamb for the magazine to kind of show a breakdown of an animal, which there's been a lot of chatter about, a lot of people that want to learn that kind of stuff. And I think it's great that we've got people out there that are saying, I can probably help, I can teach, I can video it. And we need that information with the censoring that's happening. A lot of really, really good information is withheld from us or buried deep within the pages of Google or DuckDuckGo, and it becomes harder and harder to find solid information. So if we can get out there and start doing the things and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and documenting those mistakes, we are building a future. We are building a possibility to say, we tried it your way, now we're going to do it our way.
Nice. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your experience with the social media and how you've been shut down across it, because I'm curious. I'm trying to find this out myself to figure out if I'm on a crash course for being shut down myself. I've been banned very often. I caught a 3-day ban this week, and my understanding is that it just keeps growing The next band will be bigger, and the next band will be bigger. Is that what happened to you? Is it just they just kept saying you've done something wrong and never gave you a voice to say, well, this is what this means. It didn't mean what you think it means, because that's what's happened to me. It's not like I'm out there attacking people or causing trouble for people. I'm just
algorithms are real weird. Yeah, I don't even think it's a guy that's pushing a button.
No.
I think 90% of this is algorithm, and I think it's key words or key phrases or even key pictures.
So we got to go into a break. Hold that thought. We got to go into a break, and we'll come right back. We're talking to Jackie Kerouac here on Toward Anarchy. TowardAnarchy.com. You can follow along. Just look for December 13th, and the links are there. As always, I share them for you. You can follow Road to Autonomy Magazine on Facebook. And then I also showed the rtamagazine.com website, and that's how you can subscribe and support and maybe even look to contribute to the magazine as well. Just before we went into the break, though, we were talking about this social media thing, and you brought up this point, Jackie, that you don't think that there's a person there. And I think that that's absolutely right. And I don't think it's 90% of the time. I think it's 99.9% of the time that it's an algorithm that's deciding these things, that it's AI, and that AI doesn't understand humor. It doesn't understand things like sarcasm. It doesn't understand it doesn't understand emotion. It doesn't understand context or any of these things. And so our speech is being curtailed by uncaring, unfeeling machines that are programmed by uncaring, unfeeling people.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
it's not a good place
exactly
to be.
Right. It's very 1984. It's very, very shitty. It's super shitty.
Exactly.
It's very hard.
It's a no-win situation, and that's why it's wonderful to be able to bring someone like yourself here who has found a way, a place, you've done whatever you can to carve out your little space in it, to create just something within this mass that is the internet, that is social media, that is all this digital information that's just flying around above and through our heads all the time now. To be able to find any place to carve yourself out a spot at. That's what everybody's scrambling to do. That's what all the narcissism is about. That's what all of the photos are about. You know, that's what all the tweets are about. So please, somebody tell me that I'm worth something in this space.
Well, I think the magazine is worth something in the space, which is why I've been successful so far at getting the word out. I think there was a hole in the community, and I was able to fill that hole. And I think there's a lot of people that are filling gaps. And, I think there's always gaps. There's even gaps between what I've filled and what's existing still. And I think no matter who you are, no matter where you come from or whatever, you can fill gaps. You can look at needs in your community, and it doesn't have to be global. It doesn't have to be social media global, but it can be local. And I think the people that fill those gaps in society have a place. Maybe not them themselves, but their product, their service has a place. And I think to use social media kind of against itself by creating a separate platform, in my case a magazine, I think is like subversion at its finest.
Absolutely. Using their own weapons against them, not running, taking what's out.
Yeah.
Facebook didn't create social media. I mean, it may have created that phrase, but it certainly didn't create people wanting to come together and share ideas and the things that we're doing. We got to roll over into the top of the hour real quick, and we will come back and we will talk some more with Jackie Kerouac right here on Toward Anarchy.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
Okay, and we are off into hour number 2. As always, go to towardanarchy.com if you want to follow along. You're looking for December 13th. The links are there for you. You can follow Road to Autonomy Magazine on the social media. You can subscribe and support and learn how to contribute to the magazine at rtamagazine.com. And as far as liking and following and subscribing and sharing, do it now. Stop. Take 1 second, press pause on the button wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify or Pandora. We broke Pandora finally after more than a year of trying. We're on there, and we're one of less than 1,000 podcasts in our category. That may sound like something. There's 1,000. Considering there's 1 million podcasts out there, and there's only 1,000 in our category on Pandora, that's pretty great. Wherever you're listening, stop right now. Take that second to like, share, follow, subscribe, because that's the only way that this thing works. They can shut down our voices on their platforms, but they can't shut down our voices here, not on RBN, not towardanarchy.com, not at rtamagazine.com. That's the beauty of carving out our own little niche and finding our way and standing up for what we believe to be the right thing across the board, just really trying to live it. Jackie, this mask thing. I see. You said you're not a mask wearer. That's good. I actually have taken to going the other direction now, and I actually am in a mask and a hood and dark glasses, and I carry a gun, and I'm wearing all leather. So I had to go to this store quick to grab some more creamer for my coffee before the show today, because I had to sit here and drink my cold coffee. I walking in the store today, man, everybody was staring at me. Everybody. And it's just, there's nothing greater than standing in all black with your facial features completely covered with a pistol at your side in the money line at Walmart. I swear
that is
this
definitely
last week,
something that I would like to see.
It's great. The people look at you, especially the people behind the. I swear that the lady behind the counter, I had to go and get a money order, and I swear that she watched. It was a long line because of the social distancing. Now everything is a long line, and so she's watching me forever and ever coming up to this line. And as soon as it was me to get up there, she had to go take a break. She called it somebody else.
She's like, I ain't getting robbed today. No, thank you. I don't get paid enough.
I just thought it was. Here's the thing that gets me with the masks, because I have my friends telling me
so much gets me so much.
Well, they're telling me you get used to it. Well, you get used to an abusive relationship too. It doesn't mean I want to.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm so afraid to open this can of worms because I have been in such a ranty mood that I'm so cautious right now.
No, I understand. It makes me when I was actually purposely going around making it a point not to wear the mask and shoving it in everybody's face, if you will. I was mad. Was constantly angry. Yeah. You sheep. Oh, you morons. You fools. You don't have any clue what you're doing.
Same. And I'm really trying to curb that. I'm really trying to evoke more compassion here. And I'm so careful with my words because I've got a couple friends that are like giant mask wearers. And I'm coming at this with love.
And are these same friends, are they excited for a vaccine? What have they said about that?
One is pro-vaccine, one is not. And let me be very clear, because I have some friends that are a little confused. I am not opposed to people getting the vaccine. If you want the vaccine, you should go the hell out there and get it. I also say if you do not want the vaccine, you should not be forced to do that. You should have your body autonomy. I know we've never had that before, but you should have your body autonomy respected. And I am not anti people getting the vaccine. I personally will not take it. I personally will not subject my loved ones to taking it. However, if my friend wants to get vaccinated, man, I'll drive her to the clinic. Like I'm that kind of friend.
Yeah, well, isn't that the crux of the problem, right? It's the same with the masks, and we know it's coming with the vaccines, and it's this idea that people have to be forced to do it instead of asked to do it. When did they just stop asking and start forcing us? And then how long do we have to go where the curve continues to go up, and they keep making more mandates and nothing changes? More people are found to have the virus. What changes? When does it stop?
Oh, well, my friend, we are on a roller coaster to hell. I don't anticipate this stopping anytime soon. I believe this is a really a big push for control. This may not be the main one, but it is definitely a big old dip in the toe in taking full control. I think we're almost watching a coup kind of between the powers that be. I'm not really sure who controls what, but it almost seems like the state is eating itself. And it's really interesting to watch. So I don't foresee change in a good way coming, to say that as cheerily as possible. I see a lot of change coming. Stop, period. But I believe it is up to us being regular old people. Like I'm not a special individual. Please do not think that I am somehow significant. I am not. I live in a teeny tiny little studio. I am insignificant as hell, but we all have a purpose. We all have a place. And I believe it's all up to us as to how that change happens.
Yeah, it's up to the individuals, and that's what's being destroyed right now. Is any idea of individualism, any idea of autonomy, separate from a collective, separate from the government. The World Economic Forum has envisioned these 8 predictions for the world by 2030, and as you're saying, I see it too. I foresee a lot of change. I just don't see a whole lot of it necessarily being for the better. When you say the state is eating itself, it's eating itself by bigger predators within the state system. I gather is what you mean. Yeah. I think so.
But
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like all is not lost, despite change being profoundly negative, I think, coming. I believe it is up to us to find the agora. It is up to us to find the Vanu. It is up to us to find the sub-community. We can still participate in society, but it looks a little bit different. People buy local, more of that. Much more of that. You've got a neighbor that has hens and maybe you grow a significant amount of broccoli. Trade that stuff. That's barter. Trade that. That's the agora. You're making a free transaction without involving the state. More and more of our lives is going to be the agora. It's going to have to be if we're going to survive the change. Now, we fight against society historically, anarchists generally. We fight against the norm. It's exhausting, being a salmon all the time. Instead, swim a little bit with the society, but instead you get your groceries from neighbors. You locally trade, you locally barter. Your need for going to the public store is less and less. And when you do, they're meaningful transactions.
Oh, and they're the ones that add up. This is what I think people don't see it because they see themselves doing it, and they don't see the larger society doing it, and so they think they're alone. But you're not. You're not alone in your thinking, and you're not alone in your doing. And with what's happening right now, I think there's definitely a clip to the the economy. It's been snipped,
Yeah.
and hundreds of thousands, 100,000 plus businesses have closed. Most of those small, normal people like us who have had to make these decisions to shop in different places and go different places to find our things because they're not there anymore. And every time that for every crisis, there's an opportunity, right? That's the yin yang thing, right? So right now, what's happening is while the crisis is going on, a lot of people are victim, but then a lot of other people are going to succeed because they're going to see this is a space where I can fill. And I would tell people, like you said, think locally, think your backyard.
Yep, absolutely right. For one of my previous issues, I had the great opportunity of talking to some of the original Black Panthers.
Oh.
For a piece in the magazine, and I was able to contact them, and they were really excited to talk to me, and it was really great. And Anita, who was the original publisher of the Black Panther newspaper, got on the phone with me and told me that I was thinking too globally. I needed to think more local, and that resounded big to me on so many different levels. She was absolutely right. I needed to think locally. And through that kind of change in thinking and effort, I acquired a couple local contributors to the magazine and found some really inspiring people that are in my town that are doing really extraordinary things that don't label themselves as anarchists, but they are really inspiring agorists. And talk to people. It's so important right now. Meet your neighbors. It's so important to create that local community because as things change, we should be able to change with it.
Absolutely.
Adapt.
I think that it's an interesting point in history that we're at for sure. There's never been more information available, and it's never been harder to sort through the information.
Exactly. It's exactly. And they use it against us by flooding us with information. And it's so hard to understand, like, which are you chasing? Which idea is really worth your attention? It's very difficult. And I think that's all by design.
Well, I think that there absolutely is some design to it. I think you're absolutely right in that. I think that there are people in places who have the ability to take advantage of these things and that will steer them in the direction. Looking at the news and the headlines, and it's something that I don't do. I don't watch the news. It means nothing to me. Yeah, it's pointless. It really is. I go out and I find information that I need. I don't watch the news, but I do. I watch headlines. I'll see headlines, and there's just so much fear, and there's so much. They leave everything in question. There's never an answer. It's just more questions. Ooh, what about false positive tests for HIV that are related to the new vaccine? And Texas is seceding or wants to secede, and more vaccine fears. It's everything is fear and ignorance. If you're not
we are
actually
addicted to fear porn for sure. Oh yeah. Oh, big time.
What's your go-to to just get away from things? What do you do to just shut down for a while? Clear your head.
Oh man, does that even happen?
Does it? That's why I ask.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it does, but I'm an overthinker, plagued by constant thoughts, which is why I have a 90-page magazine. I can't.
You got a thought, you have to express it.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, and if I expressed them all, oh my gosh, but there's so much, and I don't know. I'm not on Facebook. often, I guess. Like, I'm on Facebook maybe 10 minutes, maybe a day, maybe. I am so busy with the magazine and with Silas and the podcast and just my regular day job now and my kiddo. Honestly, I there's no time for Facebook, and I've been doing a shit job of promoting my magazine as a result because I just not enough time.
That's an actual drawback for somebody who's actually trying to use the social media successfully to push an idea or to push their business or something like that. Is you actually do have to spend the time participating in it. That's when it comes down to people making good choices about the things they see and learning to just button up. Don't say anything. Just it's there. Yep, it's a reality. I can keep scrolling. Get back to doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. Not wasting time.
Yeah. It's like a catch-22. Like we all talk about getting off Facebook, but so far, Shane Radliff is the only one that has. So. And
you can still get him. You can still find him. It's not like he's gone.
Oh yeah, he's very accessible. He's absolutely accessible. But yeah, like Facebook, it's one of those like, God, like who has time for Facebook? But then if you don't have time for Facebook, you're missing out on all of those promotions. You're missing out on all of those like plugs, those shameless plugs.
Well, isn't that how they get you?
That's exactly that's a catch-22.
Yeah. Well, they think that they actually are missing out on something, and I mean, there's some truth to it. So sure,
it's real. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is real, and there's whole people in the alternate currency that swear by FOMO. So it's a real thing.
Yeah, it is, and it's something that we all either have to embrace or dismiss, and then once you've made one or the other, then you have to reconcile it. You have to learn to live with the decision that you've made. I envision not being connected to social media, but then at the same time I envision like not having any knowledge of what's going on in the world at all if I wasn't on the social media. Yeah. Because I'm certainly not getting it from the news at night.
Oh gosh, no. No. Oh gosh, no. I mean, unless you're like into that, like some people might have like a fear porn fetish, in which case that would be great.
Oh, it's all that's out there. I caught some of this new series called Big Sky this week, and it's about this community in Montana, and it's all surrounding this this idea of long-haul truckers kidnapping people for a cult and to sell them into slavery. And so it's this weird thing of like a real thing, something that's actually real, because anybody that's transporting goods across the nation is transporting illicit goods across, potentially. Oh, yeah. Anything like that. People, drugs, goods, things that are black market, whatever. So it's a real thing. But then it's sensationalized through the acting and through the blood and the unrealistic characters and unrealistic situations that they're in. So it actually kind of numbs you to the real thing. We got to go into a quick break, and then we'll come back in here. And unfortunately, we'll have to wrap it up with Jackie, but we'll be right back on Toward Anarchy. Talking to Jackie Kerouac, and we've been talking about Road to Autonomy Magazine and the masks and anarchy and agorism and all these amazing things that there are people all around you don't even realize that they're doing. Go to towardanarchy.com. December 13th is what you're looking for, and from there you can follow Jackie through Road to Autonomy Magazine on Facebook, as well as the rtamagazine.com website. You can find out how to subscribe and support the magazine and help it continue to grow. Maybe even become a contributor. You don't have. I mean, you're just looking for people who are doing things, right?
Yeah. I've been super fortunate to have a lot of amazing contributors, both past and present, that have donated their services, their time, their knowledge, to educating a community. And I've been so super fortunate to have Derica Klaus. I've had Nick Irwin. I've had Shane as a current contributor with Vanu. I just have a ton of great, like I've had Danilo. I've got Shane. Oh my gosh, the woo-woo man. I forgot his last name.
I'm
a
not
ton
sure.
of really great people. I'm so terrible with names.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of names, a lot of things to think about all the time. You can't be expected to remember them all.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Well, it's a good thing.
So,
it's good to have more on your plate than than you can eat. I mean, that's a sign of wealth, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I definitely. And so I'm looking for content creators again. So I don't look all the time, but a couple spots have opened up. And so I'm looking for anyone that wants to contribute towards either alternate currencies, navigating through the Bitcoins and the Ethereums, and people that are knowledgeable about bartering and trading and the Agora. I'm also looking for content creators for the kids section. I do have a kids section. It's about peaceful parenting and ways to kind of teach our children to be better than society. And so anybody that wants a platform, anybody that has some knowledge that they'd like to educate us on, I would love to hear about it.
And that's easy enough to do. TowardAnarchy.com. Look for December 13th, and that link is there. And it's rtamagazine.com. That's the easy way. Just type that right into your browser, and that'll take you there. And you can see what's going on. You can see that there's no pretense here of anything other than just people doing what they do and sharing what they know and wanting to do it voluntarily. That's part of the beauty of the whole thing. Is these people want to be here doing this and sharing.
Yes. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. So yeah, and we don't claim to be all anarchists. I've got a few statists. I've got a few, and I hate that divide, but I have a lot of people that are not anarchists that contribute to the magazine, and we, as a whole, are a very harmonious group, a very voluntary group, a very peaceful group. And despite coming from many political affiliations and backgrounds, we still come together and do the thing. So the only thing that we want is to encourage autonomy. And we attack it from many angles. We attack it from parenting, from food growing and preservation and cooking, and Bitcoin and political, trying to subvert. We encourage it all different ways, and our contributors are just as diverse as the topics that we cover.
That's great, because this is the only thing that we can hope for is just to keep finding places to put voices and good ideas out there. And it's amazing work that you're doing. I really appreciate what you do, and I wish you the best of luck in it for sure. And hopefully I'll come and see if maybe I can't contribute something to the magazine. I think that would be great.
That.
It'd be fun. I'm a writer too. I don't just talk.
That's tremendous. People that are good at speaking are generally good at writing, they say. So that would be wonderful.
Sometimes what happens is that I know that I have to avoid doing it myself, as I end up trying to write like I speak, and sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
it definitely
Absolutely.
takes some, Yeah, it definitely takes some effort to make sure that your writing is different. Well, I always look at writing as being more formal, and so you have to be right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
You have to be
exactly.
right to write.
Exactly.
Well,
or at least confident in your wrongness.
Or be very That's great. I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Jackie. I'd love to talk to you again sometime, too, so hopefully you'll come back and we'll do it again. RTAmagazine.com. That's the best place to go. Subscribe, support, follow along. Thank you so much. You take care, all right?
Thank you, Michael. Have a great week. Thanks, everybody.
You too. We'll talk to you later, and I will be right back on Toward Anarchy.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
TowardAnarchy.com is the place to follow along. As always, if you're looking for today's show, it was December 13th. I talked to Jackie Kerouac. What a great conversation. I love what she's doing. I love the idea of the magazine. It feels old school, even it's a digital thing. It feels old school. It feels, it's a return to organization. It's a return to practicing the word and all of the words and all of the phrases and saying them in such a way as to have an impact, that they're not just wasted, that they're not just thrown out into the ether like so many tweets, just the billions and billions of wasted words flowing out every few minutes or whatever it is across the social media. It just doesn't stop, and they're so, I don't know, they're so unneeded in so many cases, and it was, like I said, it's just people trying to be heard, trying to cry out, trying to find some semblance of connection with another person. Sometimes it's just people who just want to make noise, and no matter what. When it comes to this stuff, it's up to you. You're the key to this. It's absolutely you. No matter where you're hearing these things, whether it's RTAmagazine.com, whether you're reading something like Road to Autonomy Magazine online, or if you're listening to a show on Republic Broadcasting Network, whatever it is, if it's a link across the social media, it's all up to you. All of what we do now is dependent on that like and that share, so much even more than, say, the dollars. And this is, somebody might want to kick me for saying this, because yes, we want you to support the network, and we need the money to keep the network going and to keep the ideas flowing. But the reality is that we're doing these things. We're putting these voices out there. We're being these voices because we feel that we need to do it, and we will do it as long as we absolutely can. And the best way to do it is to get more listeners, to get more subscribers, to get those likes and those shares, because for every one of those, I've been looking at the numbers, because the numbers are so big here on the show, comparatively speaking. It's all relative. To go from nothing to having sort of 10, 15,000 people a month hitting the website over the last 3 months. So, total closer to sort of 45,000 people or so in the last 3 months, and coming to the end of another month and looking forward to seeing the numbers. But looking at where they're coming from and how people get to monetize something like this, it's a long, long road. It's very, very hard. And to get any mainstream hits, if you will, coming in those larger markets for voices like this, you're talking tens of thousands of listeners every single episode, verifiable, before you can start making any kind of money at doing this. And that's what all these people are doing. That's what all these YouTubers, a lot of kids finding their voices in places where they might not otherwise be heard. And so it's wonderful. It's a great thing to do. You can absolutely do it. But the biggest thing that we need is your support in that sense, of those likes and the shares and the follows. I can't repeat that enough, because after looking at the numbers, that's what it's at. Well, all of the thousands of people that go up to the website, to the towardanarchy.com website, they show up there because they clicked on a link, because it was shared on the social media. That's how people are getting to find it. And if that many people are already finding it with only a tiny percentage of people making sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, just imagine what it is if you do it. And if you are doing it, thank you. Keep doing it. Keep clicking those buttons. If you're not doing it, why? Why haven't you done it? Think about why you haven't done it. Is it just because you haven't taken the second to actually do it? Because that's my problem. I know that's what happens to me. I will be listening to something. I will be watching something across the social media, reading a post from somebody, and I'll do it too. I will forget to give the like. I'll forget to click the share button. And I'm working myself to make sure that I don't do that. I take that extra second because it just takes that extra second, and it makes all the difference in the world. Otherwise, I would have never seen the couple of links. I mentioned actually one of them when I was talking to Jackie, and this was a link that I shared today at towardanarchy.com under December 13th. The World Economic Forum envisions 8 predictions for the world in 2030. Basically, the state owns everything. There is no private property of any kind, and there is no privacy, particularly across the internet and things. They don't want you to own anything, and we're not even talking a piece of land or anything. We're talking vehicles, TVs. They want to revert. They want to go in the UK. They have just their 4 channels, I guess, the 4 state-run channels, and they're dictated by the state. The state determines what they can and can't air, and they used to charge you for the TV. You didn't own the TV in that sense. You rented the TV, and that's the kind of thing that they're talking about. The World Economic Forum in this link that's up there. That's the sort of thing that they're trying to talk about. People doing is that you won't own anything, that the state or some corporation will own it, and you will only have it lent to you. And this is the idea that everybody can have everything, that nobody is left without, because it doesn't belong to anyone but these small numbers of people. And this is socialism. This is the deliberate act of destroying the individual to make it to increase the chance of outcome. That's the problem, is that they're trying to manipulate who we are and what we do so that everybody has an equal outcome. Instead of being on equal footing going in, they want that end result of everybody to be equal. And to do it, you have to deliver. That means that somebody gets to decide for the rest of us. Somebody decides what's important, who's important, how much of it they get, how much of it there is, if it's even available at all. And this is where they envision the world in less than a decade now at this point. And when it comes to these things, they push for it. You see it. You see it all around you and everything that's happening. And it all fits together. One of the spots that's run across the network, if you listen to the commercials, it talks about how it all fits together like a puzzle. And so imagine someone like myself who's got this 1,000,000-piece puzzle in front of him with all these pieces that basically look the same, but they all fit together somehow. And just imagine trying to convey that message to other people, and just the futility, or sort of the seeming futility of it all. The reality is that when you get into it and when you do it, and you try, you just make the effort, you will succeed. It goes with everything, anything. It's about your effort and your intent that you put into it. So much of it is key to that effort. It's what is the success is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration, something along those lines. Quote from Einstein or somebody. The point is that the idea is it's just the spark. It better light a fire, and you better stoke that fire with some great coals to keep it going. And that's where we're at now. That's where we're at with the show. I think that's where we're at in reality right now. The embers, the fires, the spark of liberty is dying in a lot of people. Sort of literally, there are people killing themselves en masse now. I just glanced an article just before the show started about Japanese people killing themselves, particularly the women killing themselves at an unheard of rate during COVID and in 2020, and while all of this is going on. And so there's a reality to everything that we do and say, and everything that is said and done for us, against us, to us, it's all starting to add up, and all of these pieces, they fit together like a puzzle for somebody. And if you're paying attention, you can actually get a picture of things that will give you yourself an advantage. You can begin to predict the way people will act and the way things will go if you're enough of a student of it. And I don't mean that in sort of a prognostication. I'm not trying to get you to predict the future or anything like that. It's like somebody who's driven for a long time. You understand what's going on out on the road, and you understand that you have this instinct about what other people are going to do. You know when that guy's going to cut you off. I'm teaching my daughter to drive here. She's just getting her license for the first time, and so this has come up a lot, and I try to tell her, I try to explain to her, trust your instinct on this thing. Trust what you're feeling, because you get it. You spend the time, you invest the energy, you make the effort, and that creates learning. It doesn't matter whether it's driving, or whether it's communicating, whether it's growing a garden, or whether it's building something so much bigger than you and your vision. It's a stepping point. It's a start. I think that there's unlimited value and potential in it. Of course, it all comes out at the end result. You never know what the end result is going to be, but you know what the end result will be if you don't try. It'll be nothing, right? So give it the effort. Do your thing. Don't let what's going on in the rest of the world, don't let this lockdown and the masks make you angry. I did it for a little while, and I talked about it on the show. About it. I was always angry, and I'm always angry, and now I've let it go. I'm done with it. I've accepted it, and that's unfortunate, because there's this idea that the reason that we are experiencing a lot of this is because we're accepting it. Well, I don't know what else you can do around you to make yourself comfortable and to make yourself fit in if you're constantly at odds with everything that's going on around you. And you don't want to lock yourself away. I don't think that there's any benefit to that. I think this little meme that I shared was kind of neat and gives you a pretty decent little picture of this. It fits with Christmas. It's up there at towardanarchy.com. You can see it. It's candy canes. It's a society of candy canes, and they're hunched over. Candy canes have that little hook at the top, right? And they're all they're carrying their Starbucks and they're carrying their briefcase, and they all look down because that's their view on life. They're bent. They are bent over, and that's it. They're carrying a burden in their design, and they don't have to. They apparently can just go visit a chiropractor and he'll straighten them out, because this candy cane here coming out of the chiropractor is good and straight, and he's got a smile on his face, while all the other ones are bent over and dejected. And I just think it's a great analogy, but I also wanted to share it because this comes up a lot. People talking about chiropractors as being a bad thing, or as being fake, or being something that you don't need. And I'm one of these people that I've been to a chiropractor a couple of times in my life, and I actually listen to my body, and I understand more than a couple of times in my life. I understand my body, and I can feel it when it's not aligned. And you can too if you're listening. And a chiropractor can straighten that stuff out. I am telling you, I've never felt so good after I had long time injury from sitting boxed in a little corner, and for about 6 years. And so I was twisted, and I went to the chiropractor, and I came out my first step off of the table. I tried to step further than I had to, because I was an inch off. The left side of my body was compacted down, and the right side of the body is stretched up and out. And you can feel it now. Stand up against a wall and stand up straight, and let your arms hang down by your side, and let them relax a little bit. And have somebody look at you, or look at yourself in the mirror. And if your shoulders aren't straight across, you could probably go to the chiropractor and get straightened out. And you will probably feel it in your back, in your shoulders, in your neck, and in your legs. I'd been to a chiropractor a couple of times in my life, and I was like, oh yeah, it made me feel better, straightened me out. I don't have the knot anymore. I can turn again. I have full movement in my neck. But I had never experienced anything like that, where I stepped and I almost fell over because I didn't have to step as far as I thought I had to. My brain was so used to that extra inch not being there that when it was back, I almost tripped over my own feet. It was amazing. Hey, we'll come back and we'll tell you what's coming up next week, and we'll wrap it up. I carved my own little niche out of the internet, this social media, this digital world. I found my spot. It's at towardanarchy.com. You'll always be able to find me there until they come to take me away. That's where I'll be. Next week, Sherry Voluntary is on the show, and then we'll wrap up the year with Felony Melanie on the 27th. And then to kick off next year, Craig Hargis will be my guest, and we'll talk about Christian anarchy. And then I have more already. I have a long list of people. We're well into next year already for the show, and so it's going to be just wonderful. It's always a treat to come here and do this every weekend, just for my own mental state. But I get to talk to all of these wonderful people, and some of them, like Sherry, are people that in Felony and just all of it. Sean, Leo from last week, Jackie this week. These are people that some of them, in some cases, I've followed them for years and always wanted to have a chance to talk to them, and getting a chance to do it and do it in this forum is really, really cool, getting to be able to share it with people. I had some fun watching some shows and things this week, just kind of getting away from it. I was on a ban on the social media, so I didn't have as much of my time taken up with just trying to do just a little post here and there, just to make sure that my name stays up there, so that my name's still popping up on people's pages. I didn't have much of that to do, and so I took some time and I watched some shows, and of course I watched The Mandalorian, and it was great because there was this. They don't do this very often in these Star Wars shows. They seem to be, even the movies, they seem to be very distant from reality. They don't make a lot of references to reality. In some ways they do, but in other ways they don't. There's nothing overt, but on The Mandalorian on Friday it was so overt and it was so fast and it was so funny that I don't even know if people caught it or not. But Bill Burr, the comedian, he plays a role in there. He's a hired gun. The Mandalorian broke him out of prison to help him find some information because the Bill Burr character used to be an Imperial, and so he still has access. His face is still recognized within their systems, things like that. And so they break into this base, and at one point they encounter an Imperial officer, and the officer is sort of quizzing them, and they're trying to get out with the information that they've acquired. And at one point, Bill Burr grabs the Mandalorian by the arm and he says, "Come on, let's go finish those TPS reports." I just lost it. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, I'll roll that back. Did he just say what I think he just said? Did he just say they have to go finish those TPS reports? And sure enough, he did. And the only thing that was missing was somebody coming out and say, "Don't forget the cover letter." We'll be back next week. Sherry Voluntary will be my guest. Until then, you take care. We'll see you.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.